Hey, what's up, Sea Rovers? Welcome back to the channel where we explore the weird, wild, and wonderfully bizarre side of history. Today we're diving into a question that probably keeps you up at night. What did pirates actually do all day on their ships? I mean, think about it. No Netflix, no smartphones, no Wi-Fi to argue with strangers on the internet. Just you, a bunch of smelly dudes, and the endless ocean. Sounds like a nightmare, right? Well, buckle up, because pirate life was way more interesting than you'd think. Before we set sail, hit that like button if you've ever been bored at work and wondered how pirates killed time. Spoiler alert, they didn't have office Slack to scroll through. And subscribe for more historical deep dives. So, let's get real. Life at sea wasn't all treasure maps and sword fights. In fact, most of the time, it was pretty boring. Sailing could take weeks or even months with nothing but water in every direction. So, what did these salty sea dogs do to keep from going completely insane? First up, gambling, and I'm not talking about responsible recreational gambling. I'm talking about betting literally everything you own, including your next meal, your boots, and probably your dignity. Pirates loved gambling. Dice games were huge. They'd play games like Hazard, which is basically the grandfather of craps. Card games were also super popular. They'd bet on anything and everything. Today's weather? Bet on it. How many dolphins will we see? Bet on it. Which crew member will get seasick first? You better believe they bet on that too. The problem was that gambling could get out of hand fast. Pirates would lose their share of treasure before they even got to port. Some pirate codes actually had to ban certain types of gambling because crews kept fighting over debts. Imagine being so bad at poker that your entire pirate crew has to create legislation about it. Now, here's something that might surprise you. Pirates were actually pretty musical. Ships often had designated musicians on board. We're talking fiddles, accordions, drums, and even bagpipes. Yes, bagpipes. Because nothing says terrifying pirate raid like the sound of Scottish folk music. Music served multiple purposes. It helped coordinate work. You know, like sea shanties. Those rhythmic songs helped pirates work together when pulling ropes, raising sails, or manning the capstan. It's basically the original workplace team-building exercise, except with more alcohol and scurvy. But music was also for entertainment. Pirates would have sing-alongs, kind of like a really rough karaoke night. Except if you sang badly, someone might throw you overboard. Okay, probably not. But the peer pressure must have been intense. Before podcasts, before audiobooks, before even books for most pirates, there was storytelling. And pirates were masters of this art. They'd gather on deck and share tales of their adventures, embellishing more and more with each telling. Oh, that ship we raided last month? It had a crew of 30. Next week, actually, it was 50 men. A month later, there were 200 soldiers and a sea monster. You get the idea. Pirates were basically the original Instagram influencers, except instead of Photoshop, they used their imagination. They'd also share ghost stories, legends of cursed treasures, and tales of mythical sea creatures. This wasn't just entertainment. It helped build crew morale and created a shared culture. Plus, scaring the new guys was probably hilarious. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room, or should I say the rum barrel on the ship. Pirates drank. A lot. And I'm not judging. I'm just stating historical facts. But here's the thing. It wasn't just about getting drunk for fun. Fresh water would go bad after a few weeks at sea. It'd get slimy, gross, and full of bacteria that could make you seriously ill. So pirates drank beer, wine, and most famously, rum, because alcohol helped preserve the liquid and killed some of the nasty stuff in it. They'd also mix rum with water to make grog, which was basically the energy drink of the high seas. The Royal Navy even had official rum rations. That's right, getting tipsy was part of your job description. Of course, this led to some issues. Drunk pirates plus wooden ship plus open ocean equals not always the best combination. Many pirate codes limited drinking while on duty or during battles. Can you imagine the performance review? Jim's great with a cutlass, but tends to stab the wrong ship after his third tankard of rum. Now, not everything was fun and games. Ships required constant maintenance, and I mean constant. These weren't modern cruise ships with engine rooms and maintenance crews. These were wooden vessels held together by rope, tar, and prayers. Pirates spent hours repairing sails, splicing rope, caulking seams to keep water out, and scraping barnacles off the hull. Yes, barnacles, those little shell creatures that would grow on the bottom of ships and slow them down. It's like cleaning your room, except your room is a ship, the mess is alive, and if you don't clean it, you might get caught by the authorities. But here's the cool part. This work was actually pretty democratic. Unlike Navy ships where officers barked orders and sailors followed, Pirate crews often worked together. Even the captain might get his hands dirty. It was like a forced team-building exercise, except instead of a ropes course, you're actually on ropes holding up the mast. Food was always a concern at sea, so pirates would fish whenever they could. And I'm not talking about peaceful zen-like fishing. This was survival fishing. They'd catch anything they could. Fish, sharks, sea turtles, you name it. Sometimes they'd even hunt seabirds. Imagine this. You're a seagull, just flying around, living your best life, and bam, some pirate with a musket decides you're dinner. Nature is cruel, but hunger is crueler. When they stopped at islands, pirates would hunt for wild pigs, goats, or whatever animals they could find. They'd also gather fresh fruits to prevent scurvy. You know, that disease where your teeth fall out and your old wounds reopen? Yeah, pirates really had to worry about that. Makes our modern problems seem pretty tame, doesn't it? Pirates didn't stay sharp by accident. They practiced combat regularly. Sword fighting, shooting pistols and muskets, and hand-to-hand combat were all part of staying battle-ready. But here's the thing. Pirate training was probably less structured than you'd think. It wasn't like a modern military with drills and formations. It was more like, hey, let's have a friendly sword fight to pass the time, which occasionally became a not-so-friendly sword fight when someone got too competitive. They'd also practice loading and firing cannons, which was actually super important because in battle, the crew that could reload faster had a massive advantage. It's like being good at quick-time events in video games, except missing means you might die instead of just restarting the level. Okay, stick with me here because this might sound weird, but pirates were actually pretty crafty. No, I don't mean crafty as in sneaky. I mean they literally did crafts. Scrimshaw was huge among sailors and pirates. This was the art of carving designs into whale bones or teeth. Yeah, it sounds kinda weird and morbid to us now, but back then, it was like their version of doodling on notebook margins, except the notebook was a whale jaw. Pirates would also carve wooden objects, make rope toys, or create jewelry from whatever materials they had. Some would tattoo each other. Yes, pirate tattoos were real, though probably not as artistic as modern tattoo shops. More like, hey Jim, can you draw an anchor on my arm? I've never drawn before. Good enough, let's do this. You've heard about pirates having parrots, right? Well, that's actually true. Pirates and sailors would keep exotic animals as pets. Parrots were popular because they were colorful, could talk, and reminded them of tropical ports. Plus, they could sell them for good money when they reached civilization. But it wasn't just parrots. Pirates kept monkeys, cats for catching rats, dogs, and even the occasional exotic creature they picked up in their travels. Imagine the ship's log. Day 47. Captured a Spanish galleon. Day 48. The capuchin monkey. Steve stole everyone's hardtack biscuits. Morale is low. These animals provided companionship and entertainment. Let's be real. When you're stuck at sea for months, even a grumpy cat becomes your best friend. Pirates spent a surprising amount of time just planning. They'd study maps, discuss potential targets, debate strategies, and vote on major decisions. Yeah, vote. Pirate ships were surprisingly democratic. They'd share intelligence about which ships were carrying valuable cargo, which routes were less protected, and where naval patrols were spotted. It was like planning a heist, except the heist was on water, and everyone was probably drunk. Captains would also have to manage crew conflicts, distribute loot fairly, and make sure everyone was reasonably happy. It's like being a pirate HR department, except instead of handling complaints about the office coffee, you're mediating disputes about who gets the fancy hat from the last raid. Now, let's be honest about something. While all these activities helped pass the time, life at sea was still incredibly tough. The boredom was real, but so was the danger, disease, and discomfort. Pirates dealt with cramped quarters, terrible hygiene, questionable food, and the constant threat of storms, disease, or attack. No amount of sea shanties could make sleeping in a hammock next to 50 unwashed men pleasant. Many pirates suffered from malnutrition, with scurvy being a major killer. Dental hygiene was basically non-existent. Imagine never brushing your teeth and drinking rum all day. Your dentist would have a heart attack just thinking about it. And let's talk about the bathroom situation, or lack thereof. There was no private bathroom on a pirate ship. They used the head, which was basically a hole at the front of the ship where you do your business while waves splashed up at you. Privacy? Never heard of her. Speaking of discomfort, let's talk about sleep. Pirates didn't have luxurious cabins with memory foam mattresses. Most crew members slept in hammocks in the cramped lower decks, swaying with every wave. The good news? Hammocks were actually pretty practical for ships because they'd sway with the boat's motion instead of sliding around. The bad news? You were packed in there like sardines. The air was humid and stale, and there was always that guy who snored like a foghorn. Sleep schedules were weird too. Ships operated 24/7, so crews worked in watches, typically 4-hour shifts. This meant your sleep was constantly interrupted. It's like having a newborn baby, except the baby is a ship, and instead of crying, it's creaking ominously in the middle of the night. With dozens of men cooped up together for months, conflicts were inevitable. Arguments would break out over the smallest things. Someone ate your rations, someone's hammock was touching yours, someone looked at you funny. Living in close quarters brings out everyone's petty side. Many pirate ships had codes of conduct that outlined how to handle disputes. Some required duels to be fought on shore because you can't risk damaging the ship. Others had the quartermaster act as a judge. It was like having a referee for your family drama, except everyone has weapons. Pirates were a superstitious bunch. They had rituals and beliefs that helped structure their days and gave them a sense of control in an unpredictable environment. Whistling on board was often considered bad luck because it could whistle up a storm. Women on board were thought to be unlucky by some, though there were definitely female pirates who disagree with that nonsense. And whatever you do, don't rename the ship. That was considered a sure way to anger the sea gods. These superstitions weren't just silly beliefs. They helped create a shared culture and gave pirates something to bond over. Plus, blaming bad luck on someone's whistling is easier than admitting you navigated to the wrong island. After a successful raid, pirates would sometimes experience brief moments of luxury. They'd capture fine wines, quality food, fancy clothes, and other goods. For a few days or weeks, they'd live like kings. They'd throw parties on board, feast on actual fresh food instead of hardtack and salt pork, and wear ridiculous outfits just because they could. Imagine a pirate parade where everyone's wearing stolen silk waistcoats and tricorn hats at weird angles. It's like a really chaotic costume party. Of course, these luxuries never lasted long. Either they'd run out, or someone would gamble them away, or they'd need to sell them at the next port. It was feast or famine, with very little in between. So, there you have it, folks. Life at sea for pirates was a weird mix of boring routine and occasional excitement, hard work and leisure, community and isolation. They weren't just ruthless criminals sailing around looking tough. They were people trying to pass the time and stay sane in an incredibly challenging environment. They gambled, drank, sang, told stories, worked, fought, and bonded over shared hardships. They created their own entertainment in a world without any of the distractions we take for granted today. No phones, no internet, no streaming services. Just creativity, camaraderie, and a whole lot of rum. Next time you're bored and scrolling through your phone, maybe spare a thought for those pirates who had to entertain themselves with literally nothing but their imagination, some dice, and whatever weird animal they picked up at the last port. Would I want to be a pirate? Honestly, probably not. The romance of the high seas sounds great until you remember the scurvy, the lack of bathrooms, and the very real possibility of being hanged. But understanding how they pass their time gives us a fascinating glimpse into human nature. Give people enough time, and they'll find ways to make any situation bearable, even life on a cramped wooden ship in the middle of nowhere. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more historical deep dives, and let me know in the comments. What would you do to pass the time if you were stuck on a pirate ship? And please, be more creative than, "I just use my phone," because, yeah, that wasn't an option. Until next time, may your days be filled with adventure, your nights with good stories, and your rum rations always be full. Catch you on the flip side, you magnificent sea rovers.